Hey everyone, it's Nick Marzinski at TrappingLight.com. Now, if you're editing your photos in Photoshop or Photoshop Elements, in addition to having a great photo editor, you also have a really great program for laying out things like scrapbooking pages or holiday cards. And that's what I want to start talking about today. Where I live in southeastern Wisconsin, we've already had our first snowfall, and my email inbox is loaded with pre-Black Friday junk mail from stores. So it's time to start thinking about putting together a holiday card to send to friends and family. Now, the print company that I like to use to do pretty much all of my printing, including holiday cards and photographs and all sorts of stuff, is MPix. I've only had great experiences with them. Their prices are reasonable, their shipping is prompt, and their product, at least everything that I've always gotten from them, looks absolutely outstanding. But what you might not know is that they also provide a very useful tool that you can use if you're designing your own cards to make sure that what you design is going to print out great. What I'm talking about are guide files, and they're completely free of charge on the website, and here's how to get them. What you're going to do on the website is you're going to click on Products, and then click on Cards. Now, this is going to bring up a whole bunch of pre-designed templates and where you can just drop your own photos in, but it's much cooler to design a card yourself that you can personalize and send out. You send a personalized card out, someone asks you how you got that done or where you did it, and then you can tell them that you did it yourself, and that's pretty cool. In order to get to the guide files, you're going to click on DIY, do it yourself, and then you're going to have these two download links here. This is the one that I usually use for flat and folded card files. There's also photo card guide files, which are for longer cards like the one sheet that you would put in with a holiday letter. But I usually like to use the flat or the folded guide files. If you click on this, you're going to download them right to your computer. Let me just open them up and show you what you get. Now, here's what they are. It's a series of files for the most common card layouts, like 4 by 5.5 or 5 by 7, either portrait or landscape, as well as flat, meaning that it's a single sheet, as well as folded. So if you want to create a folded card, then you would be using one of these folded, either folded landscape or folded portrait. In this case, let's click on folded portrait and see what you get. Now, what there are here is 4 files. There's a front, a back, an inside left, and an inside right. If you're going to do a card that's folding like this and you want graphic elements throughout the entire card, then what you're going to need to do in Photoshop or Elements is to grab each of these files and edit them independently, do all of your editing there, and then send these 4 files back to MPix in order to get printed. In my case, I'm going to only be talking about a 5 by 7 flat portrait. So I'm going to open that up in Photoshop. It's just one single file and show you how it works. And this is what it looks like. Now, before I start talking about all the elements in it, let's go into a little bit of detail about how printing works. When something is printed using a professional printer, what the printer does is they allow for some additional room at the sides of the image, which are later trimmed off so that the graphic elements can appear to go all the way to the edge of the finished page. In printing lingo, that part that gets cut off of the finished image is called a bleed. What you've got here is you've got several blue lines across this image running across the document, and if you're not familiar with them, they're called guides, and you can create them by grabbing on the ruler and just simply dragging down. You'll create your own guide, either dragging down or dragging to the left as well, or from the left as well. We'll create your own guides. And they're very, very useful. And even though they're visible, they actually don't print with the document. Now, the importance of these guides, these blue guides, is that they show you where that trimming is going to occur. And having these guides is crucial because not only is MPix giving you the actual document dimensions that you're going to want to send back to them, but they're also showing you exactly how the document is going to be processed. The important thing to remember is that your graphic elements that you send back to them should extend all the way to the bleed, all the way to the edge of the image here. However, any important element such as, say, text or a portrait needs to fall inside of that trim line. So if I create a text file, if I write Happy Holidays and then switch to my Move tool, I need to make sure that this entire message, this entire block of text stays inside of this white area. If it goes off into some of the gray area at the edge, if it goes over this blue guide, then there's the possibility that this could actually get cut off when it gets printed. So the important thing to remember is to keep everything that you care about inside of this white area, but extend your entire design all the way to the edge, and so that you don't get any white edges at the end between where your design ends and where they actually trim the document. One final thing I want to point out. You'll notice in the layers panel, and I'll just get rid of that happy holidays. You'll notice in the layers panel that this document is on a single layer. So all of the text elements and all the arrows and everything like that within this document are part of that layer. But of course, you're not going to want them as part of your final design. At the same time, it's important to preserve them, because if you forget why all this stuff is there or what you need to do, then you can always refer back to it as long as you have it saved on this background layer here. So here's how to make sure that they disappear so that they don't appear, but actually you continue to retain that information on a separate layer. What you're going to want to do is create a new layer, just a simple blank layer like that, and then hit Shift and F5. And that brings up the fill dialog box. You're going to want to set your contents to white on the drop down and then click OK. What that's going to do is it's going to fill your new layer full of white. You'll notice that these guides continue to be there. Again, that's fine. Those guides aren't going to print when you actually print the document, but they continue to show you where those trim lines are. But again, all of the text elements are gone. At the same time, though, you still have this background layer that you can refer to, even if you have a whole bunch of layers that you've got that are all up here, several layers. In order to just get back to the background, all you have to do is hold down the Alt or Option key and click on the eyeball next to the background. That's going to hide all of these other layers. You'll be back at the background, and then Alt click on the background eye again to bring back all of those other layers and make them visible. So that's it for now. Just a quick tip about how to get the guide files from whatever printer you're using, in my case MPix, and then configure them so that you know exactly what you're going to need to furnish back to the printer to get the best possible holiday card that you can. Over the next week or so, I'll be posting a few additional tutorials about creating holiday cards using things like text boxes and that sort of stuff that if you're just using Photoshop for editing stuff, you're probably not that familiar with. Until then, my name is Nick Marzinski with TrappingLight.com. Have a nice weekend, everyone.